you probably lose more energy to ordinary small talk than to hard physical work. Many of us secretly wish we could just brush things off to avoid carrying heavy emotions. Anyone feeling that exhausted would naturally want to become less sensitive. But Scripture opens up a very different lens. Your Creator might have intentionally designed the exact sensitivity that wears you out. God does not shape a person carelessly. You often lose your energy to something entirely invisible. Imagine walking into a room and instantly feeling a heavy tension that no one mentions. Someone sits across from you smiling and laughing, while you clearly sense their hidden sadness. You reach the end of your day feeling drained simply because you noticed too much. Not everyone sees the world through this kind of emotional detail. Many people can glide over the surface of a conversation without carrying its weight home. They leave an interaction and move on to the next task without a second thought. These individuals rarely spend their evening replaying a brief exchange to figure out what went wrong. But some people notice what sits underneath a conversation long after it ends. You catch the insecurity that a loud joke is trying to hide. We often wonder why dropping an issue is so much harder for us than for the rest of the room. You might start to view your own heart as a burden that needs to be fixed. Looking at your tired mind, you could easily conclude that you are simply too thin-skinned for a harsh world. But before calling your deep feelings a mistake, we should look at how God forms a person. Psalm 139 offers a quiet, powerful truth about this exact struggle. Feeling misunderstood by the people around you makes for a very lonely life. Most friends only see your reactions or your visible fatigue. God looks at something much deeper than your social behavior. In Psalm 139, the writer says God formed your inward parts and knit you together. Those inward parts are the secret places only you can feel. Nothing in your inner life is unfamiliar to Him. He does not find your internal structure confusing or messy. He knows the exact way your heart responds to the world. You were woven with a specific capacity to perceive life. This means you are not just a random collection of nerves. When you feel overwhelmed by a room, you are not failing a test. You are operating according to a very detailed internal map. The Father saw every layer of your personality before you ever felt your first spark of anxiety. He was there during the knitting process. He understands why some things hit you harder than they hit anyone else. This realization should bring a massive sense of relief to your tired mind. The things that make you feel too much are the same things God recognizes as His own work. He is not waiting for you to become tougher or more robotic. Understanding that He knows your depth is the first step toward peace. If the Maker is not worried about the design, you do not have to be either. Labeling yourself as too sensitive often feels like an admission of failure. The world tends to reward people who remain cold and unaffected by their surroundings. You might have spent years trying to thicken your skin just to survive. However, your softness might actually be an intentional part of your soul. Some hearts seem to register the world in much finer detail. They notice shifts in tone and emotional weight that other people pass by. You don't just see a person, you feel the heavy burden they are trying to hide. This may not be something that needs to be erased at all. It is a specific design meant to navigate a world that has grown too numb. Most people live entirely on the surface because it feels safer there. Accepting this design changes how you view your daily exhaustion. You are not tired because you are weak. You are tired because your heart is always paying attention. When you stop fighting your own nature, you can finally start asking why it exists. Every part of your character was shaped for a purpose. Reframing your identity through Scripture allows you to breathe again. You can stop apologizing for having a heart that reacts to the truth. Real strength is not found in feeling nothing. It is found in having the courage to feel everything while trusting God with the weight. Life moves at a speed that often feels overwhelming to a deep person. While many people find it easy to jump from one event to the next, you struggle to ignore the emotional wake of a day. This feeling of being out of place does not mean something is wrong with you. Sometimes it simply means your heart moves at a quieter depth. While others are satisfied with quick answers and busy schedules, your soul naturally looks for what is real. You might feel like a slow traveler in a world that only values fast cars. Loneliness is often the price of having a soul that notices the details. When you are the only one who sees the pain behind a smile, it is hard to feel like you belong. You may have spent years trying to force yourself to be lighter or more careless. Every attempt to fit in likely left you feeling even more exhausted. Peace starts when you realize that your heart was never meant to be shallow. A deep heart requires a different kind of connection than the noise of the crowd can offer. God purposefully set the boundaries of our lives. He did not create a mistake when He gave you a soul that requires more meaning than the world provides. Your loneliness is not a punishment for being different. It is a quiet invitation to find your primary rest in Him. Your heart functions as a tool for detecting things that remain invisible to everyone else. You might be the only person in a room who senses a fracture in a friend's voice. While the rest of the group is focused on the conversation, your spirit moves toward the hurt that no one is naming. He may use your sensitivity to notice what others move past. You do not need people to explain their grief to you because you can already feel it. Many people spend their whole lives waiting for someone to see through their mask. When you show up, they finally feel understood without having to find the right words. Your presence becomes a gift to those who are tired of pretending to be okay. Jesus lived with a heart that was perfectly open to the pain of others. He never ignored the woman at the well or the man crying out by the road. What makes you fragile in a harsh world is exactly what makes you gentle with broken people. Over time, this kind of heart can become a place where mercy grows strong. This purpose gives your struggle a new meaning. You are not suffering from deep emotions just for the sake of suffering. You are learning to see the world with the same compassion that God has for it. He often places the most observant hearts in the most broken environments. He knows you will see the person underneath the surface. A heart that feels deeply cannot live well without quiet. You cannot expect to thrive if you try to live with the same loud habits as everyone else. Because you absorb the emotions in every room, your soul gets crowded very quickly. The need to step back and grow quiet is not a weakness. It is often how a deep heart returns to peace. Spending time in prayer is the only way to hand over the emotions you picked up from others. When you sit with God, He helps you distinguish between your own burdens and someone else's. You were never meant to carry the entire world's pain on your own shoulders. Letting Him filter your experiences prevents your gift from turning into a source of permanent burnout. You also have to be honest about the relationships that actually sustain you. Shallow connections will always feel like a waste of your energy. You need friends who value the truth and are not afraid of a quiet moment. Surrounding yourself with people who respect your depth will change how you view yourself. You do not need to become harder to survive this life. The truth of Psalm 139 is that you were not made by mistake. You might have spent your life feeling like a stranger in your own skin. It is easy to look at the world and conclude that your internal wiring is flawed. But the God who knit you together in the dark does not make errors in His craftsmanship. You are not too much for the people who are meant to be in your life. You simply carry a weight that requires a specific kind of spiritual strength. The depth you carry may be one of the clearest marks of how carefully God formed you. Every tear you have shed over things others ignored was seen by the one who made you. Rest in the fact that your Creator understands your structure perfectly. He is not asking you to notice less or care less. He wants you to bring that deep heart to Him so He can lead you into your true purpose. You were fearfully and wonderfully made for a reason that is bigger than your current exhaustion. What wears you out may also be one of the quietest places where God chose to keep your heart tender.